Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. It is a total honor to have John Assaraf in the house. You may remember him from the blockbuster hit The Secret. He is a 2-time New York Times bestseller. You've done multiple multi-million-dollar companies. You have a new book, Inner Size.
New book.
It goes on and on and on and on.
New book out. Yeah.
How are you, John?
I'm great. So good to be here with all of you.
It's an incredible honor to celebrate the launch of this book, Inner Size. Congratulations on the massive success for giving us some of the first signed copies hot off the press.
You actually got signed copy 1, 2, and 3.
That's right.
And it is in pre-release today. So it's great, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what your mission was with Inner Size.
There are so many people that are stuck. They have goals, they have dreams, they want to achieve more, and something's holding them back. And so I wanted to take the best that science has to offer to help people unlock their brain's hidden power and strengthen their mindset and get rid of the mental or emotional obstacles that is holding them back from achieving their greatest victories and successes in their life. So in the world of science, there's so many amazing new discoveries on how to turn off, for example, the fear circuit in the brain that holds people hostage, or how to eliminate limiting beliefs like I'm too young or too old or not smart enough or not good enough or not deserving enough, or self-esteem issues that many people have because of childhood traumas or occurrences in their lives that is keeping them hostage right now. So I want to go into what's happening in the brain, how do we recognize it, release it, so we can have a clear path to success, and that's what's in the book.
When did that switch flip for you? Because in reading your bio, it seemed as though when you got your real estate certificate, the whole thing changed, right?
Yeah.
Take us back to that moment.
Sure. When I was younger, I moved from Israel to Montreal, and I didn't speak any of the language. And so I felt insecure in school from grade 1, 2, and 3. So I was behind. And I felt like I wasn't smart enough. And I felt that way all the way through high school. I left at grade 11. I felt like I wasn't smart enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't going to achieve success. And then I met one man, and in one lunch, he transformed my life. And he asked me if I knew anything about why I felt that way. And I said, well, look at my experiences. I didn't do well in school. I was told if I didn't do well in school, I wouldn't be able to amount to much. And I didn't have any other information that said otherwise. And he asked me, what goals did I have? And at the time, I didn't have any goals. I mean, goals are, go to some restaurants and eat with friends, go to the bars and drink.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Those are my goals. Make it to the weekend to have some goals. And he said, listen, why don't you write down your goals? And so he gave me these sheets of paper, and I wrote down goals for health and wealth and career and business and finances, not knowing how I was going to achieve any of it. As a matter of fact, the little voice in my head said, you're wasting your time. Like, I don't know why you're writing this down. But when I went back to him, he asked me a question that transformed my life. And the question was this. He says, are you interested in achieving those goals that you wrote down, or are you committed? And I looked at him. His name was Mr. Alan Brown. I looked at him and I said, Mr. Brown, what's the difference? And he said, John, says if you're interested, you'll do what's convenient and easy. You'll allow your stories and your excuses and your past to hold you back. But if you are committed, you will do whatever it takes. You'll upgrade your knowledge, you'll upgrade your skills, you'll upgrade your awareness, and you'll change your behaviors so they match those goals that you wrote down.
So profound.
And boom,
So profound.
like that. I'm getting chills talking about it right now.
Let's talk about those things, those behaviors, right? Because a lot of the work that you do is science-based. And as we know, spiritually, these are things that have been around forever. So what's the difference? Because you have, I read through the book and the back, and there's things like cognitive priming, success meditations. These are all things that have been around forever. So what is different in these scientific?
So what's different is in the last, let's say 7 to 10 years, we can finally look inside a human brain through brain scan imaging technologies. And we can see when the fear circuit lights up because we're afraid of failing or afraid of being embarrassed or ashamed or ridiculed or judged, the motivational circuit turns off. So that means that the dopamine that we had released when we're motivated to achieve a goal, all of a sudden that gets diminished, and then the fear circuit lights up and the fight or flight circuit kicks in. And guess what we feel? We feel this epinephrine or cortisol in our blood. And for most people, they think that that means stop. as opposed to saying, hold on a second here. Something's going on in my brain that's released this neurochemical that's causing me to stop, and I'm not taking action. I'm procrastinating. I'm not living up to my potential. And so what if you could learn how to recognize, you could learn how to reframe the things that are holding you back, you could learn how to release these negative or disempowering emotions, energy in motion through our bodies, and then you could retrain your brain that when you feel that, it means go instead of stop.
Just love this, John. Of
right?
course, I love it. And I hear you.
Psychologist,
yes,
right?
Yes. Just brilliant, you know. And, you know, it's interesting because one of the other things that really excited me about The Secret, or what it did, inspired me and led me to discover the world of neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Which is what you talk a lot about.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us a little bit about that, about how all of this is not only just about programming the mind, but also sort of rewiring it?
Sure. So when we get into neuroplasticity, all it means is the brain has the ability to create new connections. Now, why is that important? Well, up until 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we thought we were hardwired. We were born, we came with our genetic predispositions, and we were just like our mother or like our father or our grandparents. And we didn't understand that the brain's consistently making new connections. So in the world of neuroplasticity, the question started to be asked of, what can you do to activate new neural connections? And the reason that's so important is because there's an automatic self to everybody. So there's a way that we think and feel and behave every single day that has been conditioning for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So neuroplasticity says regardless of your current beliefs, regardless of how you react to certain things, regardless of what you believe is true or not, you can create these new patterns that through spaced repetition, through using emotion, through using some of the techniques that we use in Innercise, you can actually create a new pattern that then overrides any of the disempowering ones that holds you hostage and keeps you stuck.
So let's play devil's advocate.
Yes, I love it.
Because let's pretend I come, I work, I do these different modalities of connecting my neurons, I have success, I become successful financially in all these areas, but there's something still missing. How does this work get somebody to their truth?
Yeah, so one of the core Innercises, we call it Take 6, Calm the Circuits. So before you do any work, you take 6 and calm the circuits to create a new baseline of calmness, and it's simple. All you've got to do is take 6 deep breaths in through your nose, in 10-second rhythmic breaths, and then out through your mouth, and you blow out like you're blowing out through a straw. Why do you do that? First, you take away any of the preconceived thoughts, emotions that may be governing what you're doing right now. So you take 6 deep breaths in and out. That's called Take 6, Calm the Circuits. Then you follow that up with Innercise number 2. It's called Aya. And Aya is awareness, intention, action. So the first thing you do is you go, okay, let me become more aware of my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, and the current behaviors that I've been engaged in. And you ask yourself, is this really what I want? Do I really want to feel this way? Do I really want to have this emotion? Do I really want to take this behavior over and over again? But you do this in a calm state where the fear circuit's not activated or the stress circuit's not activated, and then you ask yourself one simple question. What is one intention that I have? Well, my intention is to be happier. My intention is to be healthier. My intention is to be more successful. You define what that means. And then A stands for action. So awareness, intention, then what's one action step I can take to be happier? What's one action step I could take to be healthier, wealthier, etc.? And what that does is it starts to rewire your brain in a healthy, positive, constructive way instead of destructive, disempowering way. And if you repeat that every day for 3, 4, 5 minutes, then you start to develop, based on neuroplasticity, a new neural connection that becomes part of something called the default mode network. And the default mode network is simply the part of our brain that just operates stuff automatically without thought. Well, why not be deliberate and conscious about your own evolution versus waiting and hoping that something changes? So this is you in action. I know you're talking a lot about the law of attraction. There's something I learned 37 years ago that goes with the law of attraction that nobody talked about in The Secret. It's called the law of Goya. You know what that is?
Tell me.
Get off your ass. So in addition to being mindful and meditating and hoping and praying, you have to do the right things as well. And sometimes the right things is be still and listen, pay attention to your intuition. Other times, if you want to achieve a result, what's the knowledge that I need? What's the skill that I need? What's the help that I need in order to actually make that a reality? In today's world, No, in today's world, all of the how-to we already know. We know how to make more money. We know how to build a business. We know how to be healthier. We know how to have a great relationship. We know how to be spiritually connected. So all the how-to, that's the easiest part. The key is, why aren't people doing what's already known to achieve results?
But you clearly manifest at a level that very few people will experience. There's a very, very famous scene in The Secret where you have moved into this new home that you've remodeled, this gigantic home, and you're working in your office. Your son comes in, he sits on this box, he's kicking the box, and he's like, "What's in the boxes?" And you say, "It's all my old vision boards."
That's
and
right.
you open up this box.
He said, "What's a vision board?"
Like,
He was 5. He was 5 years old.
And you open it up, you look at the vision board, and there's a picture of the exact home
The house.
that you were living in. You didn't even realize it.
Didn't even realize it. When I had cut out a picture of that home in Dream Homes magazine 5 or 7 years earlier, I used to sit every day as part of my daily ritual, and after my meditation, and I would open up my Exceptional Life Blueprint, which we're actually going to give everybody who pre-buys the book a copy of that as part of the bonuses. But I used to look at my Exceptional Life Blueprint, and I would run my fingers across my goals. So I would send an electrical signal to my brain. I would give my brain the instruction of, one day, when I can afford to live in any home I want to live in a home like this. And I ended up in that house, even though it was thousands of miles away from where I was living. And this is where getting into resonance is slightly different than attraction.
And we talked about this, that this science is a different language than spiritual.
Yeah.
I wish we'd all get on the same plane. Like, we have pranayama for breath work, and then you call it something different in science, and da-da-da. But I think it's great to have all the different expressions. I embrace all of it. Yeah.
So do I. You know, when you get your brain in coherence, and in the book I talk about, we don't have one brain, but we have two. And so we have what I call as the Einstein brain, which can imagine and think through difficult challenges or easy ones. Then we have the Frankenstein brain that says, here's why you can't, here's why you shouldn't, here's how you're going to get hurt, here's what happened to my friend, here's what happened to you the last time you tried. And we have these two brains that are competing, with each other. The one wants to achieve stuff, and another one says, but here's why you can't, because it's governed by a couple of hierarchical principles, and that's safety first, energy efficiency second. So if there's any potential of danger, being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, or failing, or losing money, or anything else, then the brakes go on from a brain perspective, and you have one foot on the gas because you want to achieve a goal, one foot on the brake, and all that's happening is a lot of noise and movement, but you're not moving forward. Mm-hmm. So coherence and harmony is getting both parts of the brain in coherence, in resonance, so there's a clear flow towards achieving your goal. And this is where the spiritual principles come in, right? I've taken the spiritual principles and tried to understand the neuroscience and the neuropsychology of it, and then created inner sizes. So people say, okay, great, let me do inner size number 1, take 6, calm the circuit. Let me do inner size number 8, beach time. Let me do inner size number 3, flip-flop actor studio. Let me do inner size number 6 for this. So it's all to strengthen somebody's mindset and upgrade their emotional skills so they're in flow and in coherence with the vision goals they want.
I'm wondering, with your understanding of this, how has that affected you as a father?
Oh my goodness. I know that everything I say to my children is important, but everything they see me do is more important. And so I've battled alcoholism, I've battled sugar addictions. I was 50 pounds heavier 7 years ago than I am right now. And they have seen me use inner size to build companies, to get into the relationship of my dreams with my wife, Maria, to be an amazing, hopefully, dad to them, to lose weight, to get off of sugar, I've just used what we know about the brain to deal with some of life's most difficult challenges by getting better control of what I already own, the most powerful tool in the universe, our brain. And so this is just a bit of the user's manual for other people to use it.
I just love this. I love your approach. I love the book. I love you, of course. And it reminds me, there's a Carl Jung quote, which I was always fascinated with, but I could never quite make sense of or really apply to my life, which was essentially, he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it'll direct your life and you'll call it fate. And that's always been, I think, for all of us, that's where the challenge and the opportunity is, to begin to make that unconscious conscious and then be able to reframe it in ways that allow us to achieve our goals financially or relationally or psychologically or in any way.
In any way, and the truth is, there's no shortage of anything, right? If we live in a universe of absolute abundance. However, there are different layers of consciousness. Just like there's 1,000,000 times more power in the nucleus of an atom, there's 1,000,000 times more power at the spiritual realm of our being. But very few people dive deeper into their lives, into their spirituality, into their brains. And the first part of that is calm down. You don't have to slow down, calm down. And when you calm down, then you can listen. When you calm down, you can pay attention. And when you're paying attention, you're in a state of awareness. And that is the key, is in a state of awareness, now you have choice. Now you can respond versus being a reactive state and an animalistic reactive state that's automatic.
But most people, let's be honest, don't want to be in that state. They're not going to like the choices they have to make. They're not going to like the reality of who they see they are and want to have to make a choice to redirect their lives.
Well, and they have to make a decision of what type of life do they want to live? Do they want to keep hiding? Do they want to keep suppressing? So the suppression is what leads to the depression. Do they want to live a life that they minimize, or do they want to listen to that voice within them saying, you're capable of more, and there's help that you can have? And the first step is at least discover how to do it in a safe, loving, caring way that doesn't put you down but lifts you up. Everything that we've done with my company NeuroGym is about lifting people up in a safe, loving, caring environment, because we all go through the same stuff. That's what people don't get, is I can't sit here and tell you, look at my successes, but then not also own my failures. I can't tell you the things that I've done brilliantly well and the things I've been most embarrassed, ashamed of, because that's part of the human condition and experience.
So I'm curious to know about one thing, the flow state. Have you done some work on that? What is that like? I know that you've probably experienced that. I mean, you've build companies that are worth multi-millions of dollars, that generate billions of dollars. What is that flow state like for you?
The flow state is about having your vision and your goals that you have in your head with how you feel about yourself and having that purpose and that vision resonate, but then trusting your gut that you're moving in the right direction. Even when you're faced with obstacles, which we all are, even when you're faced with insecurities, even when you're faced with, I don't know, I don't have all the answers. And so when you get into this flow state, it's effortless. It's not effortless, it's effortless.
I love that. Things
just seem to be a little bit smoother. And in the, I can't remember if it's the Army or the Navy, they have this wonderful saying that says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So when you slow down, you calm down enough to be aware of what is happening within me. I have these emotions of whether it's happiness, sadness, shame, guilt, contempt, love, etc. These are emotions that happen in the subconscious brain that release neurochemicals that causes these feelings. Feelings are not good or bad. Feelings just are. They're pleasant to unpleasant in varying degrees. But most people, when they feel this unpleasant emotion, the energy and motion in the body, they go, oh, let me have a drink. Oh, let me pop a pill. Oh, let me distract myself and go somewhere else.
I like cupcakes. Just
Yeah, that's right.
Right, a little,
Let me go, take a nap.
let me do something else versus saying, I wonder what's causing this feeling, right? Feeling is conscious awareness of the vibration that 100 trillion cells are in our body.
Such a brilliant idea and concept, and I know you draw on Mike Csikszentmihalyi's work there at Claremont around the flow state. And one of the things that I think you said so sort of eloquently there is this whole thing around emotion and how we ascribe meaning and value to what is essentially neutral, which is essentially just arousal. But when you're in that flow state, you ascribe positive meaning, right?
Yeah.
And so, talk to us a little bit about that, if you can. You know, what would help people, any of us, enter into that flow state more sort of consistently, more effortlessly? Because I think that's where a lot of the magic happens. Whether you're an artist, whether you're an entertainer, if you're an athlete, you know, we're all familiar with this idea of the zone. And Michael Jordan gets in there real easy, and the rest of us sometimes struggle with that. So, is there anything?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you use Michael Jordan. If we look at athletes or even musicians or actors, they usually have a ritual that puts them into the flow state. And so for me, every hour I have my cell phone beep, and I stop what I'm doing and I do 6 to 10 breaths just to neutralize any of the stress that may be happening in my brain and in my body. And then I focus on what is the next hour going to look like for me? What's it going to feel like? So I'm very intentional about taking a break and then recalibrating into a flow state. The thing that gets people out of a flow state is when we have a vision or a goal that we want to achieve, and something at the subconscious level is triggered, like self-esteem, self-worth, fears, etc., then when those things are activated, then the neurochemistry must follow that. And most people are not aware that when you have this unpleasant emotion, emotions will only last 90 seconds to 2 minutes if you observe it. So just be aware.
Wait, your emotion only lasts for 2 minutes? Because that is not the case.
Well, but you know why? That's right. What happens? Somebody feels this disempowering emotion, and then they think about what they're feeling, then they feel what they think about, and they recreate this doom cycle of an emotion they don't want. And then if they do that often enough, whether it's a thought pattern or an emotional pattern, their brain basically says, oh, since you're doing this so often, let me just make this automatic for you. You don't even have to think about it. I'll just make this a default state for you to conserve energy. So the first phase to get into flow is stop, be aware, breathe, take 6, calm the circuits, inner size number 1. If you need 12 breaths, great, take 12. And don't give any fuel to the disempowering or negative emotion. Be aware of it, let it pass through the system, and then focus on what it is that you do want.
Love that.
And you switch, and that's where the flip-flop actor studio comes in, which is inner size number 3. You're not going to get away from having disempowering emotions. You're not going to get away from having disempowering or negative thought. You're never going to get away from that. The brain is never going to be wired different. Well, maybe differently down, maybe a million years. But those are natural emotions that we're having, natural states that we're having. But most people don't have any tools to control the state and to allow the state to flow through and then deliberately choose the state they want to get into. Every athlete, if you're playing basketball or you're an archer or any one of the athletes, you'll see they have these little rituals to get into the state that they want.
You know, what's a perfect illustration of that? Michael Phelps.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he has and I've read about his, it is insane. It is hours leading up to that actual event.
Yes.
It only lasts for a few minutes.
Oh, really?
That's actually,
his
he is
case,
putting
a few
himself.
seconds.
he is entering a peak state of mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual alignment. And then he lets it go. He doesn't think about it anymore because he has practiced so many times. He's what we call is unconsciously competent.
It's interesting though, because that takes so much discipline and so much energy to even be able to harness that, right?
Yes.
To recognize it,
yes.
to embrace it, to experience it, and then to make that conscious shift. So let's take it back a few steps.
Yes.
How do you even get to the point where you are self-disciplined enough, how you have enough energy to really do that, to make that conscious shift? Because most people are going to say, I'm too tired for that. I can't
Totally agree.
deal.
Yeah. So Jim Rohn, famous philosopher, said in life, you're either going to pay the price of discipline or you're going to pay the price of regret. He says discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. So let's set that aside for a moment as a philosophy. From a brain perspective, the way you do it is you chunk it down and reduce it to the ridiculous. So when you want to start something new, most people say, I want to make this amount of money. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to, whatever it is. And the goal is really big, and that's what they're focusing on. And what I teach in the book, Inner Size, is chunk it down to what's one step that'll take you 1 minute. Like if you wanted to go to the gym to build your muscles, you wouldn't go and lift, 50 pounds. You might start with 2 or 3 pounds. And you do that, if you did that every day for 5 minutes, maybe 10 days later you could do 7 pounds for 5 minutes. And then maybe 10 days later you could do 10 pounds for 5 minutes. So you reduce it to make it easy for the brain to develop a new pattern. All the latest research shows that if you do something for between 65 days and 365 days, regardless of how small it is, you develop a new neural pattern that within that time frame, it'll become the new default pattern that'll actually cause you to want to do it without any effort. Not 21 days, not 7 days, not 50, 65 to 365 days. So if you started to walk today for 5 minutes every day, guess what? There's going to come a period of time where you won't have to think about, do I want to walk today? You will be compelled to walk today because the subconscious pattern will drive the behavior. So it's conscious effort first, only until it becomes the new pattern that your brain fires because it takes less energy to do that.
Living proof right here. When the show started, I said, I am not a morning person. There's going to have to be a lot of coffee. I will do this. This is what I want to do. And now I wake up before my alarm even goes off. I'm ready to go to the gym. I get up at 5. I mean, my entire schedule has been completely changed. Now, the first 2 months,
hard.
Uphill battle.
Right.
I love it.
And so one of the things to do is one of the processes we teach is, in addition to having, a goal, so for your show you had a goal, you had a vision, you had a goal, then you had a plan that you had to implement, you have to have a reason why. But you have to have the motive for the action. So one of the things I share with people is, don't set a goal that you're not committed to achieving. Like if you kind of sort of want it, you won't do what's necessary. So don't even kid yourself. But if there's a goal that you want to achieve, then are you willing to invest the time necessary to create the new patterns so it's sustainable? One of the things that we have a program around weight loss, we don't teach anybody about food or exercise. We help them retrain their brain to a new lifestyle, a new vision, a new way of being, so that drives them wanting to eat differently and exercise if that's what they want to do.
So love that. I had a professor at Penn, Dr. Pawlowski, and he created an exercise called wanting what you want to want. Because he said, I don't want to wash the dishes, but I want to wash the dishes. And so the whole point was to try and get at the sort of heart of what it is that you're trying to accomplish either through or by way of doing the dishes. Right. What is it about? Nobody wants to do the dishes, but there's something about doing the dishes that deep down inside you do want, if you can connect with that.
Right, and so how will it make you feel? Yeah. What will it say about your character? How will you look to yourself and others? So when you are disciplined, then you build self-confidence. But one of the things that's really beautiful about self-confidence is if you build self-confidence here, it translates across your life. So if you have disempowering character traits, it'll cross over to other disempowering traits. And so if you start to build small, little, tiny, positive, what I call our neuromuscles, let's say self-confidence is a neuromuscle, then it'll translate into other areas of your life. Because if you have confidence here, well, can I have confidence here? And the answer is yes. These are all neural networks in the brain that are connected and have associations with them.
I love it. John, I could listen to you all day long. We're running out of time, but there's no time in a spiritual realm. So I know that we are going to be listening to you and diving into your book.
The book is pre-launch right now. Right? Yeah, pre-launch Inner Size. Yes. You're going to get 8 audio inner sizes to listen to where I guide you through the first 8 inner sizes, and there's some other amazing video training programs that you're going to love.
As long as
Inner
I practice.
size, that's right.
Practice inner sizing.
Goya.
Get off your ass and get the book first.
You have touched so many millions and millions of people's
Thank
lives.
you.
You have touched my life. And I just want to say thank you so much for
thank
all
you.
of your work.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you
that's
so
okay.
much for taking time.
Thank you. What a joy.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Stay tuned.
you.
We'll be
Thank
back
you.
with more
Appreciate
Good
you
Morning
too.
LaLa.